Hey, thanks very much. So, yeah, this is going to be Descent. It's quite an old game, but luckily we have a source port which we speedrun on, which I'm going to open up now. Since various in-game kind of effects happen with depending how long the game opens, I'm starting with the game closed, and I'll start explaining more as I go. So I'll just get straight into it. Don't worry about me loading a not starting from a new game, because now I'm starting from a new game. Nothing to worry about. All right. So I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1, and go. Sorry, I spammed the button as it going, yeah. Because I was mashing through the intro menu as well, so I spammed the timer button. All right. Yeah, this is a motion sickness warning, by the way, for the entire game. Yeah, this is Descent. It's similar to Doom, but in space. That's what we tell everyone. You may be able to see already that I'm strafe moving pretty heavily. It means I'm not going to be looking in the direction that I'm flying very often, unless I'm aiming. This is because, much like when you're running around in Quake or a similar game like that, combining 2 vectors is going to be faster than just running a straight line holding 1 button. Except we can combine 3 vectors because you can move in all 3 dimensions. The general kind of gist story of the game that's going on here is we are flying to various mines throughout the solar system that have been infected by an alien virus. This is an intentional death, by the way, while I'm explaining the lore. And as we move out through the solar system to different infected mines, then the levels get progressively harder out towards Pluto and Charon and things. So at the end of each level is a reactor like that. The reactors are going to take increasing amounts of damage to kill each time, and then we have to get to the exit before the entire mine blows up. So we're already on level 3 here. There's 27 levels, and various weapons and inventory management to do as we go. Yeah, but yeah, it's a pretty non-stop movement game. It's not very glitch heavy, unlike my other speed games. It's all about trying to get cleaner movement to save time with the strafe moving, and there's pretty much no breaks. So good luck donation reading, and just get in there when you can.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely shout-outs to the kind of community that stuck with this game ever since it released back in 1994, 1995 on floppy disk. There's still a multiplayer community that has some members, you know, dwindling numbers. We're going to pick up an extra life from this guy here. He happens to drop the extra life drop. So I'm playing on the lowest difficulty because it's easiest to barge through enemies that way and go faster. For any percent. But playing on the lowest difficulty has a downside in that you don't get as many points for destroying enemies and other things, which means you don't get as many extra lives at various point thresholds. And we want extra lives to be able to death warp, like you already saw me intentionally death warp in level 2. Because when you die, you respawn back at the start of the level, but you don't lose any keys that you've picked up. So the main kind of way to progress through levels is to find the blue key, then the yellow key, and the red key to open the respective doors. Then the reactor's going to be behind the red door. So if a key happens to be really far out the way, like it was a bit in level 2, the red key was quite far away from where the red door is, and the red door is right next to where you start the level. So you collect the key, die, and then just respawn right next to the red door. But you can only do that in tactical places which save time, as with the routes that we've come up with, because we have a limited number of lives to work with. It's the one reason why maybe one day in the future, invisible guy, I'm getting stuck on there, maybe one day in the future this game will be run on rookie difficulty instead of trainee difficulty for any percent, if someone's good enough, because you'll get extra lives in order to death warp more. So I've just laid a load of mines there. Picked up a clump of mines because I'm going to have to backtrack through this room. Blew up kind of 1.5 guys, not that good. Yeah, this level is a very difficult one early on because it has a lot of these melee enemies, these green guys. And you cannot just push through the melee enemies, they always stop you dead in your tracks. Unlike other robots. Alright. Yeah, the level geometry can be pretty tricky to maneuver around, especially if you get stuck on certain corners, depending on what angles the corner are. We're also trying to, with strafe moving, we're trying to not push against walls as we go down tunnels. So let this guy fly in and get around him, there you go. Yeah, the cleaner I can fly down the kind of the center of a tunnel, strafe moving in all three directions, the less time I'm going to lose. Oh, that guy happened to fly in the way I wanted to go, bad RNG there. So here's an example of a different weapon I switched to. So I picked up the spread fire earlier. Notice I had lasers at the start, that spread fire was the blue one. And this is the Vulcan cannon, which is good for opening doors because it's almost time for doors to open before you get to them and not bump into them. So if we can hit those doors from much further away quicker with the Vulcan, then that's normally good. As long as enemies aren't in the way, because it's not the best weapon for actually clearing enemies out of the way. 3, 4, 5, be safe. I'm counting different amounts of time it takes to destroy the reactors as their health, and depending on which weapon we have. All this weapon talk is going to become pretty irrelevant when we hit level 10, because there's going to be one particular weapon which just is far better than all the others. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Here's a particularly difficult movement section. If I can get back to this door before it closed, I got caught on an enemy a little bit there. Not quite. There's a couple of different speed checks, which are well-timed doors that you get in and out of, and see how fast you can, see how fast you're feeling on that particular day if you make the door check. We've got these cat enemies, as we call them, in the community in this level, where they get introduced. You heard the sound there. There it is again. I was previously talking about. So they're pretty much impossible to dodge. If they notice you, if they have line of sight to you, they'll instantly hit you with some amount of Vulcan cannon. That's one of the main reasons I would prefer easiest difficulty over the second easiest difficulty, because their weapons will do less damage, and those are the ones you can't dodge. I went out of my way there behind the red key to get an extra life pickup, just as partly marathon safe, partly fastest routing. We'll see what happens if I die on the hardest level of the run later. So I've got kind of two options for routes here. They're very different routes for a couple of levels in the mid-game time, depending on whether I die in a certain location or not. You might think that sounds great. You can just pick up a key and death warp whenever you need to, but the downside is that you lose all your weapons. You keep the key, but you lose all your weapons, and as you're further through the game, you really want to keep a lot of your, especially your primary weapon here. In this case, still the spread fire, but it's going to be a much more powerful one. Because we're about to get one of the next most powerful weapons. As we enter the boss, this is the first boss level of the run. Instead of the reactor, there'll be a boss robot. So now's a good time to, I guess, to explain the cheeky load I did before I started a new game. For some reason, a variable is global instead of local. When you go into a game and wait around for a long time for the boss to teleport, and then quit out and start a new game, when you next get to that boss room, the boss will still be going through all the teleports you've stacked up previously. So right now he should be over here in his spawn location, just teleporting on the spot and not moving anywhere. He's supposed to move around the room. But because we did that little exploit previously, waiting around in a load file for him to stack up teleports in that location, he's just sitting there, which is really helpful for that boss fight. And that boss fight is actually quite scary because the weapons that boss fires do insta-kill you, even on lowest difficulties. So you have to make sure you're flying around him in a pattern which doesn't leave you open to, backtracking into any of his missiles. Yeah, some of the enemies in this game the weapons that you use in the game are also the weapons that the enemies start using in the game. So even the most powerful weapons you can get, the enemies will also end up firing at you by the end of the game. All right. We're in the Mars levels now, as you might be able to tell because it's very red. We've got a new kind of melee enemy, the most annoying types of enemies for the speedrun. These are the advanced lifters as opposed to the green medium lifters we had before. We've got these advanced lifters, which are the ones with 4 arms. You'll see one in this tunnel somewhere. Not this one, but this guy at the door. Again, another type of enemy you can't just push through because they have like a massively high weight value if you were to look at it in the editor. All the melee enemies do. Oh, there's one. The path that the enemies take is also like not going to be the same every time I play the game, depending on exactly when I loaded into the game from starting the game, and also just the exact path I took on the rooms on the way to them, and exactly how long I took to get to them. All right, doing pretty well. I have all the lives I want. I haven't died anywhere I haven't meant to, so this is looking good for doing all the death warps I want to do, including the one coming up in this level. This level's death warp is different to the others because we're going to be destroying the reactor and then dying. Normally when you destroy the reactor you have to make it to the exit before the mine explodes, but if you destroy the reactor and die on the way to the exit, then the mine explodes. So do you. But it spawns you at the start of the next level with no weapons and no anything. But that's still much faster than flying all the way to the exit in this level, so since we have life to spare, we're just going to do that instead. And yeah, before someone probably says it in the chat already, there are hostages on each of these levels. It is part of the lore that there's a prison with hostages in each level. This is the any percent run, so kill the animals and all that. All right, low enough health to death warp quickly in the reactor. I just have to really make sure to not die before the reactor is destroyed. So I'll play a bit safe here. Okay, there we go. Nice. Okay, so we lost all our weapons. I said that was a bad thing, but that's because this is level 10, where the first appearance of the most powerful weapon in the game is this fusion cannon. This weapon will one-shot literally every enemy in the game, apart from boss robots. However, it will not one-shot every enemy in the game without charging it up the appropriate amount, because it's a charge and shoot weapon. The longer you charge it for, the more damage it's going to do. You notice I'm opening doors now with a flare, which is the other little shot I have access to. So I don't have to use the massive blobs of the fusion cannon to open the doors, which will take ages and probably get stopped by the walls, because aiming with this thing is very difficult. When you fire the fusion cannon and when you hold it down to charge it for any length of time, the ship shakes around randomly, and the longer you charge it, the longer you hold it for, the more the ship shakes around. Up to no limit. Like if you cheat to have invincibility and hold it down, you literally start teleporting across the map because you held it down for so long. Okay, I'm on not a lot of health here, so I have to get a marathon safe invincibility, unfortunately. It only loses like 3 seconds, but I want to show off the non-invincibility strats, by the way. Here's an invulnerability. So we're going to take this to the reactor room, very dangerous reactor room on this level. Invulnerabilities only last for, I don't actually know what the exact timer is, but they don't last for that long, so I need to fly to the reactor room very fast with it. In the red door here. Clear these guys out the way. So we're going to charge up. This is the biggest benefit of the fusion cannon here. Here's the reactor, and there it goes. You can one-shot all the reactors with it, up until the very final levels where the reactors start getting lots and lots of health, or even a fully charged fusion shot doesn't kill them. But yeah, that is the gist of how powerful this weapon is. So the only thing I have to manage now is when I charge up the fusion cannon, it starts doing damage to me. If you charge it up for a large amount, like you need to hit the max damage with it, it also does damage to yourself. My shields are the big blue thing you can see on the bottom there. The orange is the ammo. So now it's a game of knowing exactly when to start charging way before you reach an enemy, because you have to have hit that charge time to get to the damage. And then also not taking too much damage yourself, that you then die later in the level. It's like miss flight there. Another example of switching back to the Vulcan Cannon, because we're backtracking the way we came. We just cleared out the enemies. Hello, enemy. So we shouldn't need to kill any enemies. Only open doors. So a good time for the Vulcan there. I'm going to switch to a smart missile here, because there's a very close proximity enemy I need to kill quickly, and this enemy has loads of health, so I don't have time to charge up the shot. There we go. Smart missiles are what the first boss was firing at me. They have loads of blobs that home inside them that basically one-shot most things. Good shield. Another one there. Got that guy. So this is a very dangerous room, because the mines that these guys drop do a lot of damage to me. And I'm going to need to charge up to a very high amount in order to one-shot the reactor. This is me taking damage and shaking around randomly. Ah, I missed one shot. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Don't hit any more mines. Yeah, very dangerous room. Okay, didn't die. We're slow on the reactor, so I missed... you see how easy it is to miss with the fusion cannon there, because I touched a wall. Hang on, I need to do the setup at the start of this level to clear out the enemies I want to clear out. Oh, I didn't have homing missile selected. Excellent, great. Okay, well, there's a couple of enemies I might need to clear out differently. Yeah, even if your fusion blob even touches so much as a pixel of a polygon of a wall, then it disappears and no damage is done. So, right, we've got 4 lives here, so loads. We're gonna... This is the first instance of me just death warping for no reason. No, it's I didn't pick up a key or anything there when I death warped. I just died very close to the start. Why is that? Because I want to leave all of my weapons there, including the most powerful weapon that I want to carry to the next level, and then go to a key that's very far away, and then die at that key, so that I don't lose all my weapons. I can then pick them up again when I respawn. And we're going to use a Mega Missile on ourselves here, the most powerful missile in the game. Oh, I need to get through this guy first. Mega Missile will kill me and anything instantly, like so. That's what the final boss is going to have. Oh, you're very handily in the way there. Thank you. Right, the level coming up is the scariest level. It's the hardest level in the game. Because there are so many homing missile hulks with a lot of health. And I've got bad RNG and no shield drops, so this is going to be pretty tricky. But I might concentrate for this a little bit. So I'm also pulling like way more FPS than I'm used to on this setup, which I thought would be a good thing, but it's slightly unused to the aiming. Alright, let's walk that guy down. We're going to leave a couple of them alive that we're just going to hopefully fly past and not get hit by. So we line up these two. The shot penetrates through both of them. We're already on 50 shield. The shot penetrates through both of those. We're leaving a lot of enemies alive in this level, which is a risky strat, but you know, it's fast. We're going to have to fly back past those enemies multiple times, just because those enemies have so much health that it's not worth killing them. Here's a Mega Missile I'm actually going to use to kill other enemies instead of myself. I line up that corridor. There we go. Don't want to be anywhere near it when it explodes, otherwise it will die. Dodge those guys. Okay, there's a secret shield stash here, another marathon safe thing. Still only 69 shields, not actually as nice as you might think. You can go up to 200 as the max shields. So, and I'm being currently chased by a homing missile that is probably going to hit me because they are pretty hard to dodge when they're this close behind you. Wait. Okay, there it goes. Didn't get hit by it. Might get hit by this one. Yeah. Yeah, homing missiles are pretty hard to dodge. They used to be much harder in the non-source port version of the game. Why is this the weapon I'm selecting? Okay. Because they used to be frame rate based on the original DOS version of this game. So if you run the game at like 200 FPS, they're just impossible to dodge. But now everything that would be frame rate based is locked to, I can't remember if it's 30 or 60. Okay, we're alive. That's the hardest reactor shot there. 11 health. If I get hit by any of this, I die. Dodge that one. Still another guy behind me here. You can see the lock target flashing, which means I'm about to be hit by a homing missile. Ah! Okay. Oh yeah, that's the hardest level done. Okay. Some of those enemies were much more in the way than I'm used to. We're going to do another one here. Because I have that life that I didn't die on that level, we don't have to do the more difficult route. Now, that exit was very far away, so we have looked at dying on the reactor on purpose. But you'd have to lose all your weapons and play these next 2 levels with like no weapons. So this is the easier of the 2 options, because I will have weapons when I finish this level. Which is why I died at the start of this level on purpose, to leave all my weapons by the last door again. Because I don't need them to play the main half of this level. Oh, I should kill this guy, because he has a safety and vulnerability. Marathon safety, yeah. Yeah, so now we're going to play through this level with just the spread fire cannon and pick up all our good weapons again at the end for the next level. Invisible guy in the way. Unfortunate. They're another type of melee enemy, so you can't just push past them. Let's try and get some good movement through these tunnels. I think I've been slacking on the... Oh, nicely placed enemy right in the way there. Normally he wanders away. I've been slacking on the kind of perfect movement at the moment, but, you know, I've been commentating at the same time, so my attention is split. Yeah, no, I'm glad. I have the max number of lives that I would need for like marathon safety and everything, so this is good. We're not going to like game over accidentally, which is definitely a possibility. So here's the red key all the way far away at the end of this level. I can finally, I would like to pick it up first before I die. I can finally go back to the start of the level and get all my weapons again. There is the fusion cannon, the most important one. Right. No cloak drop from that guy, so that's bad RNG, but we'll just have to play this room a little bit safer. And charge the shot, aim the shot, run away from those guys. Nice. Okay. So these are kind of the mid gas giant levels of the game, and they are definitely the hardest section of the game, starting from that 1-2 levels ago, level 13, because they have so many Hulk enemies. That's these missile firing enemies, the red ones being the worst ones because they have so much health. They fire homing missiles, like those. Here's an invisible one. At the moment we've got a handy invulnerability, which just happens to be in this level. So we're going to use that. We're going to try and get that as far as we can through the level before it runs out. Including for this shot, for this guy we're going to need to come back through later. Nice, I think that hit him. It didn't kill him, okay. I can tell if it kills an enemy by looking at the score there. I can tell if they die off screen. I'm also keeping an eye on the score for much later levels for when I need to hit certain point deadlines to get an extra life by, so I can do the Death Orbs when I do. Oh, I should have switched back to Vulcan here to open the door quicker. And use it on this door and the next couple, since we're backtracking. Into the other door of this level. Wow, my flying is all over the place today. Not that slow, I'm just not that smooth. I'm just gonna ignore all the enemies in this room and fly back out again, taking a lot of damage. Oh, not even that much damage. Somehow didn't get hit by the homing missile. Okay, and then I will get a marathon safe and vulnerability, fine. Again, another place where I might not have, but it involves charging up the fusion cannon for a very long time and taking a lot of damage from these guys. If I didn't have invulnerability right now, I'm just going to aim through the reactor, hit the reactor, and leave. Doesn't matter how many enemies are in front of the reactor if the fusion cannon can penetrate through all of them. That guy's flying in the right direction, so I won't hit him to make him turn around. Flying in the direction that won't get in the way on the way back. I'm very glad there's a giant mouse pad here, by the way. I forgot to bring my giant playmat mouse pad, because you need to move. That's something I forgot to mention in this game. The sensitivity is so low, because the source port is, or the version of the source port I'm using is as faithful to the original release as possible. The max sensitivity is ridiculously low. So you got to swing that mouse around sometimes. Yeah.
Shout outs to Glorious.
Yes. And then the other thing I use to help get around the sensitivity problem is that when you look left and right, you have a higher sensitivity than looking up and down, just because you happen to. So instead of like looking up to go up a tunnel, I will roll to the side and look sideways to look the same direction in pretty much everywhere I would otherwise be looking up or down. That's the first reactor I needed to fire more than a fully charged fusion shot to one shot. And you saw, because I had to start charging up that fusion shot very early, there would have been enemies in the way that I couldn't have flown through because they were melee enemies. So I had to kill the enemies with other missiles while the fusion shot was still charging up in order to keep the fusion shot at max charge when I got to the reactor. Got a short time with invulnerability again here. We're going to try and line up all of these enemies to get one through all of them. Actually, that was pretty good. Yeah, that's really good. Very hard to aim the fusion all the way down that corridor. And so I'm going to have invulnerability for even longer than I'm used to not get hit by a couple of these guys, and hopefully this mine. Not too bad. There's another door cycle that hopefully I can make. Very tight one. Oh, I bonked the door. Never mind. Bonked the door on the way in, so I'm not going to quite make this door cycle on the way back out. Ow. I think that was the mine that was left outside the door. I couldn't squeeze around that one. Mines seem to do the same amount of damage to you no matter what difficulty you're on, because they just do like 40 damage to you, I swear. So they're probably the most dangerous, not actually enemy in the run, on, even though it's on the easiest difficulty. Apart from the bosses, I guess. Yeah, this level is a lot of melee enemies again, so I'm actually routing through this section in a particular way that will hopefully not leave them in the way as I fly on the way back. Nice, there we go. There's another marathon set. Okay, this is the first marathon safety and vulnerability I've skipped because I was muscle memorying. So we're just gonna, because I have lots of health to work with, we're just gonna not die in this room. Oh, yeah, there we go. Right. And get out. That's fine. So I have 2 lives. This is perfect amount of lives, but that will mean that I will be on 0 lives remaining, so any accidental death will be game over. Because we're going to do double death warp here. Using the fusion charge and missiling myself to damage myself faster. Leave all our weapons in this room, and then go a completely different way in this very maze-like level. Like, more maze-like than the other levels, believe me. You can tell by the map, look. The map in this game is awesome. I don't know how they made it so useful yet confusing at the same time. Anyway, yeah, go completely the other way to get this yellow key, and then respawn and go completely back the first way where the yellow door was. And pick up all the weapons again. Shoutouts to Spooty for a lot of these routes. Actually, a lot of the initial routing of this game is done by him. You might know him from running Crypts the Necrodancer these days. Booty Biscuit. Here we're going to fly into the back of a missile, because we're too fast. He fired it at us on the way in. Yeah, and this reactor room, again, so the reactors have too much health now to be killed by a single fusion shot. So the last one I had to do some missiles as well as the fusion shot. This time I will have to do 2 whole fusion shots. Fully charged, first one. And a second one. Enemy ball there that we leave behind. There's a lot of enemies in that room. Okay. This level's layout is pretty cool. You got like a tiered approach where each key goes down one layer on the map, as it were. And as you go down layers, they get more and more messed up geometry-wise until it's a complete labyrinth at the bottom one. So we're in the blue door. Gonna get butt missiled here? We are! This computer likes the butt missiles, I see. So that guy was facing the complete other way and fired a homing missile at us anyway. Does tend to happen with that particular enemy. Nice, I made that door cycle just as it was closing, that was cool. Right. Yeah, so now we're going down to the final most complex layer where the red key is hidden. Luckily I know the way. I say that. Hang on, I'm going back. I'm lost. Time to pull out that map again. I haven't done this in ages. Right, we came from here. Ah, I'm going this way. That's where we're going. Oh, we went wrong. Red key is hidden up here. And the timing for killing this reactor and getting it back out the door in one cycle is very tight. So if I charge up, switch to the right missiles, hit the reactor twice, get back out the door. Ah, not quite. Hey, I didn't bonk on it though. Managed to just hit it as it was closing. Oh, nice enemy placement. And the exit is right at the top where we started. Yeah, that's a cool level. I like that level. Oh, very unique level coming up here. So, so far we've just found the keys floating around. This one, I did pick it up. The keys are contained within robots, and the robots run away from you pretty fast. Can you please? And also there's millions of melee enemies everywhere. These purple things are enemy spawners. They spawn more melee enemies. If I get to where I know the keybots spawn very quickly, then hopefully they shouldn't have flown very far. There's the yellow one. Didn't have a chance to fly away very quickly. And the red one is the hardest one to find. He tends to take a couple of different routes. I go down and across. There it is. Okay. Pretty good RNG from the keybots there. I do like the sound design in this game. Each enemy has a very unique sound. Will we survive this room? I'm just completely ignoring the like 12 enemies that are behind me shooting me in the back. And it bugged out because there's a lot of shield drops. I got a lot of shield drops from the mine layers in that room there. So that's another reason. That's another thing you couldn't do on any harder difficulty in that room for sure. This game is actually pretty difficult to play casually. Not only because of the high barrier to entry, just control scheme wise, because of this 6-degree freedom movement. I've been holding down like at least 4 buttons constantly for the entirety of this run. But just because there are certain rooms in this where if you don't know what's coming up, they will just like insta-kill you and it will feel unfair. That's that's Descent 1. They did a bit better in Descent 2 with that kind of unfair level layout. But let's take this safety cloaking device. Now the homing missiles won't be able to home in on us. Yellow key. I want to clear this enemy because there's an extra life I need, because I know I won't have enough points. There's the extra life pickup. Not very far out the way, so that's the best one to pick up. There are other ones in other levels, but they're not worth the time to go and get that it saves when you do the death warp that you need them for. But that one's pretty close. So that one will be very useful for the second last level, 2 death warps that we do there. Here's a puzzle reactor where you need to fly into invisible triggers in certain doors in order to open up the reactor. It should be this one. Nice, and that was a good cycle. I just managed to charge up enough. Just remembered to start charging the fusion cannon to be able to kill the reactor in 2 shots. This is another very difficult level. It's the introduction of cloaked drillers, the cats I was talking about earlier. So they do like to kill you. They like to hit you instantaneously with their weapons, so you always take a lot of damage in this level no matter what. I'm leaving all my weapons there at the start for when I come back to the end, and going off to collect all of the rest of the keys in the level, ending up at one that's very far away and then dying and coming back. I did not pick up that key. Good thing I was looking at my HUD to know that I actually missed that key. We get a temporary fusion cannon that's just in the level now, because the levels are quite advanced on enough that they give you the good weapons without them being hidden like they were at level 10. And then we're going to go through the spiral, which I have to count to remember to know when I start charging the fusion cannon. No. Nice. And Mega Miss ourselves on the red key. Nice level. All that's left to do is get the reactor from this one. My weapons have spread out a bit here. I was trying to confine them in that middle corridor, so that's a bit of a time loss. Where is the door? I forgot which direction I was facing in. Good. Right. Yeah, this room in the middle, I'm being shot by... It's the loudest room in the game because I'm just being shot by so many cats like instantaneously, but that's why I saved the invulnerability at the start of that level to come down into this room, because I would otherwise die instantly. Alright. Difficult level over. Now this level. This level is the first... this is where I'd say the kind of... I feel like I start getting into the last kind of endgame levels. Because it's where the soundtrack happens to loop. Shout out to this game's soundtrack. I'm afraid I'm not running with it at the moment. Because the game takes longer to load exit sequences and the next levels if you have the music enabled. But definitely go and listen, check out this game's soundtrack on some of the original sound cards that PCs would have had. Sound Blaster and all those. It's a very good MIDI soundtrack. So yeah, this level has level 1's music again, because we've got through like 22 levels worth of music and there wasn't any more to go around, so you just cycle it around again. But the other thing this level has for the first time is mini-bosses, they're called in the editor. We call them Fusion Hulks normally. The homing missile Hulks are these red ones that fire homing missiles and have millions of health. These ones have even more health, are much bigger, and fire the fusion cannon. The fusion cannon is this weapon that I've been talking about is the most broken weapon in the game. They fire it at me now, which does 60 damage instantaneously, because luckily for me they can't charge it up. 60 damage is just the base rate when you just tap fire it. And you see I have 200 shields now. Somehow I have max shields. I don't actually know how that happens, so that's really nice. I probably won't die in this reactor room now. But this reactor room is a place where I'd normally expect to have to be very careful, because there's 2 fusion hulks in it that you will see. Again, I'm going to clear an enemy out of the way so I can keep the full charge. Here's the fusion hulks, firing fusion at me. And didn't even get hit by them. Nice. Alright. And we're just going to barge this guy into the exit and not even have to kill him. There we go. Wow, yeah, this is already at the end game. What's going on? Right. My favorite level is coming up, the second last level. This is the 4th last level? Possibly. I just play the game and let the muscle memory take over, to be honest, at this point. We've got... Yeah, the amount of shield that I carried over from the last level is really useful here. Normally if you're below 100 shield, you get... oh god. You get replenished back up to 100 shield, but if you're over 100 shield, you keep that extra as well. So that's really nice, because you normally take a lot of damage going through the section I was just going through, and here. So that's actually gone incredibly well for these last couple of levels. See if we get a cloaking drop here, RNG, yes, nice. Oh, can I actually pick it up though? Yeah, okay. Cloaking drop very useful for this reactor room, because I need to stand around shooting this reactor for quite a while, because the reactors have so much health now, and look at all these guys in the homing missile guys in the room. Do not fire that mega missile, I need that for the boss. Okay. I've got, you have various weapons set to auto-select when you run out of ammo, and I happen to use all my missiles I was hoping to use on the reactor there, and it almost selected the ones I did not want to use, because that would be a big waste. We keep all the most powerful missiles stockpiled up for the final boss, because it has so much health, and we try and melt it down as fast as possible. Going to be doing a lot of backtracking this level, which is why I'm shooting more enemies than usual, because I know I'm going back through these rooms in a minute. Normally I'd just skip past the enemies if I was going past there only one time. Taking slightly circular routes to dodge the like fountains of missiles that these guys spew out at me. Let's see. How many guys are going to be in the way here? Oh good, they're fine. This corridor is the hardest shot to hit. Took 2 instead of 1, that's fine. Again, it's because the close walls just eat your fusion shots immediately and they disappear and do no damage. Right, how many points have we got? That's important. Oh, we've got 2 extra lives already. Oh, we're well over the point threshold. Oh, this is looking good. Alright, let's go down to the reactor, please. Hello. Right. I will... Oh, fine. No, I should have been marathon safe here. And picked up the safety and vulnerability, so let's get that. That's not where it is. There it is. Haven't got that one in a while, but I was looking a bit low on shields, so I thought it'd be safe. Which means we're going into the second last level next. My favorite kind of level layout. You start inside these gratings and then end up flying on the outside big rooms of them by the end of the level. I really like the design. But first we're going to do some death warping again. Last death warp of the run. But we're going to leave all our weapons by the blue door here because the blue key is so far away. So I'm just going to fly up here and leave all our weapons. So there's really powerful enemies in this room outside. So I'm trying to fly low to the ground to not let them shoot me. Fusion Hulks and things. I'm going to fly all the way to the blue key. And we have exactly 1 life left. The exact amount of lives I need. I didn't die anywhere I didn't want to. So routing success, if I do say so myself. Blue key. And back at the start to the blue door. Now that we're in the final levels, it's more likely to find invulnerabilities and cloaking devices. Most powerful weapons, not weapons, items in terms of survival. But I'm going to manage them in a way which allows me to kind of spread them out through the level, because you can't pick one up while you're already invulnerable or while you're already cloaked. So if you happen to have a invulnerability just running out from one you've collected before, you can fly through another one without picking it up until later when you actually need it. We're going to pick up a stockpile of mega missiles here for the final boss. 4. So now we have the maximum amount of mega missiles we can carry, which is 5, because I had 1 saved from a previous level. And we're definitely going to need them for the final boss, and more than that. Luckily, the final boss has the same exploit that we did to the first boss, because it works exactly the same way, because we've stood around in its level previously for ages and let it teleport on the spot. And it's going to be stacked up, not moving. I need that cloaking device, and I want this safety and vulnerability here. Yes. The last reactor of the game with the most amount of health. And Fusion still kills it in 3 shots. How powerful this weapon is. You may think Fusion might be good for the final boss since it's so powerful, but actually the highest DPS weapon, let me switch to a Mega Missile and use one there, there we go. The highest DPS weapon is actually quad lasers. Because it takes so long to fire and charge up separate shots of Fusion. So we're going to be using quad lasers on the final boss. This last level is very small. We're going to go what looks like a roundabout route, but actually happened to be the fastest one. It's been a change through running this game. I'm going to need to start charging up at very specific times here while I still have invulnerability to try and kill both of these. Oh no. One of my fusion shots hit the wall there, so it didn't get to kill either of these enemies. And now I'm going to get shot by this guy. Wow, that was so lucky. The fusion shot hit me literally as my invulnerability ran out and didn't do damage to me, so that was perfect timing of invulnerability left there. Pretty lucky. Which means there's just 1 key left to get into the final boss room. Time is going to be when I fly through the final exit after the boss is exploding. But first we're going to try this new setup. No, new for this game. Where I get all my smart missiles. If you let them explode in the air, naturally, they actually do twice as many smart blobs than... we lost one. And the other ones didn't home in, so the setup didn't really work. But oh well. They get twice as many smart blobs than normal. Here's the final boss. He's currently invisible. He's going to appear, and you can see his big eye in a second. There he is. Still trying to teleport on the spot because of the exploit. Doing as much damage as possible, firing all the mega missiles we collected and the quad lasers. There he goes, 10,000 points. That means he is currently in his death roll. And the exit is right here, so time is going to be... now! Whew. I'm going to see what the in-game time is as well. Hey! 42:18, 42:58 on the RTA. Yeah, it's anything approaching kind of 40 minutes in the 40-minute range is a good time for me currently. The world record down there, I think that's still the record on the leaderboards. I can't remember now. 37:59 there. And at this point, it's literally just movement. So yeah. Oh, I need to give my wrists a break. Constant movement throughout that, holding down all the strafe buttons. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this particularly hectic game. I like showing off this genre of game. It's not often a genre of game that's run very popularly. Yeah. Check it out if you want on speedrun.com. As always, you can find the links there. And yeah, we've got other fun categories and things. But thanks for having me on stream too. That's been Descent.
Awesome, Waffle. Thank you so much for showing that off. Also, a reminder that after this run, we are, of course, going to be having some Pokemon Emerald action, map randomizer. And then in a couple runs' time, I say a couple runs' time, one of the runs is actually going to be 14 hours long. We have an incentive to see one of the hardest tricks of the game performed by skipping Stolord? I believe that's how it's pronounced. The boss of Arbiter's Grounds. So that is open at the moment if you want to get your donations in for that. But in the meantime, we're going to be skipping over to an intermission and getting Pokemon ready. See you soon.